of all the potent and transformative concepts cataloged by Napoleon Hill during his monumental two-decade study of human achievement, one principle stands as the unshakable bedrock upon which all other pillars of success are built: the power of a definite chief aim. This is not merely the first step in a sequence, it is the alpha and omega of personal accomplishment, the master key that unlocks the vast, untapped reservoirs of the human mind. Hill's analysis, commissioned by the industrial titan Andrew Carnegie himself, revealed that without this singular guiding star, an individual is no more than a vessel adrift on a chaotic sea, subject to the winds of every passing current and squall. With it, one becomes the deliberate captain of their own fate, charting a precise course toward a chosen harbor, armed with the conviction that arrival is not a matter of chance, but of time. To truly comprehend the depth and significance of this principle, one must look beyond the superficial lens of modern goal setting. A definite chief aim in the Hill philosophy is not a New Year's resolution or a casual item on a to-do list. It is a white-hot, all-consuming obsession, a purpose so deeply ingrained in the fabric of one's being that it colors every thought, guides every action, and fuels an unquenchable fire of persistence. Hill argued that the universe itself seems to conspire to aid the man or woman who knows exactly what they want and is determined to get it. This exploration will delve into the profound mechanics of this principle, its psychological underpinnings, its intricate relationship with Hill's other laws of success, and the irrefutable evidence of its power as demonstrated by the very titans of industry whose lives served as his blueprint. Chapter 1. The Genesis of a Principle. The Carnegie revelation story of the science of success philosophy begins, not in a classroom or a laboratory, but in the opulent office of Andrew Carnegie, a man who had risen from a penniless Scottish immigrant to become the wealthiest individual of his era. In 1908, the young, ambitious journalist named Napoleon Hill was granted an interview with the steel magnate. The interview, scheduled for 3 hours, famously stretched into 3 days and 3 nights, a marathon discourse that would alter the course of Hill's life and lay the groundwork for the entire personal development movement. During this fateful meeting, Carnegie revealed what he believed to be the ultimate secret to his and other great men's success. He posited that the principles of achievement could be distilled, organized, and taught, creating a reliable formula that anyone with the will to apply it could use to attain their own goals. He saw in the young Hill the passion and tenacity required for such a colossal undertaking. Carnegie then issued a challenge, a life-defining proposition. He would open his network to Hill, providing introductions to the most powerful men in America: Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, F.W. Woolworth, Theodore Roosevelt, and hundreds more if Hill would agree to dedicate the next 20 years of his life, without financial compensation, to studying these men and codifying their methods into a philosophy of success, central to Carnegie's own philosophy. And the very first lesson he imparted to Hill was the absolute necessity of a definite purpose. Carnegie observed that the overwhelming majority of people drift through life without the faintest concept of what they want, accepting whatever circumstances throw their way. The man who is a jack of all trades, Carnegie explained, is seldom good at any. It is the man who selects a definite purpose in life and places all of his energies, all of his willpower, everything, back of that purpose. Who is the man who is bound to win? He described the human mind as a fertile garden. If one plants the definite seed of a purpose, the garden will yield a rich harvest. If, however, one fails to plant any definite seeds, the garden will be overrun by the weeds of circumstance, doubt, and indecision. This analogy became a cornerstone of Hill's thinking. The mind, he learned, abhors a vacuum. In the absence of a self-directed, dominant purpose, it becomes susceptible to negative influences and the random, often conflicting aims of others. Carnegie was not merely speaking in platitudes. He recounted how his own definite chief aim had been twofold. First, to create an industrial enterprise capable of producing steel more efficiently and at a lower cost than any competitor on Earth. Every decision, from the adoption of the Bessemer process to the relentless reinvestment of profits into better machinery, was subjugated to this one all-consuming goal. He did not diversify his attention. He focused it like a sunbeam through a magnifying glass, until it burned through every obstacle. Once this industrial aim was achieved, and he had sold his empire to J.P. Morgan, a new definite chief aim immediately took its place: to intelligently distribute his entire fortune for the betterment of humanity before his death. This second aim was pursued with the same single-minded ferocity, leading to the establishment of thousands of libraries, foundations, and educational institutions. The lesson was clear and profound. Success was not an accident. It was the direct result of a mind harnessed to a purpose. Carnegie's challenge and the philosophy it spawned was built upon this singular, powerful truth. Napoleon Hill left that meeting a changed man, no longer a mere journalist, but a student and future messenger of a great philosophy. With the principle of the definite chief aim as his guiding light, the subsequent 2 decades of his life were a testament to his own definite purpose, to unlock and share this secret with the world. Chapter 2, Anatomy of the Aim. More than a mere goal to the uninitiated. The concept of a definite chief aim might seem synonymous with having a goal. However, Napoleon Hill drew a sharp and critical distinction between the two. A goal can be a passive aspiration, while a definite chief aim is an active living force. Hill breaks down its composition into several key elements, each essential for its efficacy. Part A, the transformation from wish to burning desire. At the very heart of the principle lies what Hill called a burning desire. This is the emotional fuel that elevates a simple preference into an unstoppable force. Hill observed that nearly everyone wishes for more money, better health, or greater happiness. But these are tepid, fleeting thoughts with no power to manifest. A burning desire, by contrast, is an emotionalized state of mind that becomes a fixed obsession. The most powerful illustration of this concept in Hill's work is the story of Edwin C. Barnes. Barnes was an impoverished young man who developed an overwhelming desire not just to work for the great inventor Thomas A. Edison, but to become his business associate. This was not a casual ambition. It was the single, dominating purpose of his life. He lacked the money for a train ticket to East Orange, New Jersey, so he traveled as a hobo on a freight train to get there. When he finally stood before Edison, his appearance was that of a tramp. But Hill emphasizes that Edison saw something in Barnes's eyes, an unwavering look of determination that communicated he was a man who would not be denied. He didn't have a specific skill Edison needed, but his definite purpose was so palpable that Edison gave him a menial job in the laboratory. For years, Barnes performed tasks far below his ambition. But critically, he never lost sight of his aim. In his own mind, he was already Edison's partner, simply waiting for the opportunity to prove it. The chance came when Edison perfected a new dictating machine, which his salesman believed was too difficult to sell. Barnes saw his moment. He knew the machine inside and out, and more importantly, he had an unshakable belief in it. He presented his plan to Edison and was given the opportunity. He succeeded so magnificently that Edison granted him an exclusive marketing contract. Edwin C. Barnes became fabulously wealthy, and for the rest of his life, people knew him by the moniker, the man who thought his way into partnership with Thomas A. Edison. Hill uses this story to demonstrate that the intensity of desire is the primary determinant of success. Barnes won because his desire was not a wish. It was a fire that consumed all thoughts of retreat or compromise. Part B, the indispensable role of specificity, the crucial element is absolute specificity. Hill argued that the subconscious mind cannot and will not act upon vague instructions. A command like "I want to be successful" is meaningless to this powerful inner faculty. It provides no clear picture, no definite target for its immense resources to lock onto. Hill compared this to a postman trying to deliver a letter with no street name or number, only a city. The delivery is impossible. To command the forces of the mind, the instruction must be precise. If the goal is wealth, one must fix upon the exact amount of money. This specificity has a twofold effect. First, it crystallizes the desire into a tangible concept. An abstract idea like wealth is difficult to grasp emotionally, but a concrete figure like $1 million can be visualized, felt, and held in the mind as a real objective. Second, it engages the mind's filtering mechanisms. Modern neuroscience might call this the reticular activating system RAS, a network in the brainstem that filters out unnecessary information and allows important information to get through. While Hill did not have this terminology, he perfectly described its function. When you define a specific aim, be it a certain car model, a business opportunity, or a specific sum of money, your mind begins to actively notice things related to that aim which you would have previously ignored. Opportunities and resources that were always present suddenly become visible, not because they magically appeared, but because your mind is now tuned to their frequency. Part C. The power of a definite deadline. Hill insisted that a definite chief aim must be tethered to a timeline. A goal, he often remarked, is a dream with a deadline. Without a definite date for its attainment, the aim remains in the nebulous realm of someday. A deadline introduces a healthy, constructive pressure. It forces the mind to move from the realm of what if to how to. A deadline creates a structure for planning. If you intend to acquire a specific sum of money in 5 years, you can break that down into yearly, monthly, and even daily targets. It transforms an overwhelming objective into a series of manageable steps. This process of chunking the goal down makes it feel more achievable and provides a metric against which to measure progress. Moreover, a deadline is a statement of faith. By setting a date, you are declaring to your own subconscious mind that you fully expect to achieve your aim within that time frame. This act of conviction is vital for mobilizing the internal forces necessary for its attainment. It eliminates the luxury of procrastination and replaces it with a mandate for immediate and persistent action. Chapter 3. The Six-Step Formula, a practical alchemical process. Napoleon Hill was not a mere theorist. He was a pragmatist who insisted on providing a clear, actionable method for applying his principles. For the definite chief aim, he distilled the process into a famous six-step formula, which he described as the method for transmuting the intangible desire for riches into its physical counterpart, money. Though he often framed it in terms of financial wealth, he stressed that the formula could be adapted for any definite purpose. This formula is a masterpiece of psychological engineering, designed to engage every level of the mind, from the conscious to the subconscious. Step 1. Fixing your mind the exact amount of money you desire. As discussed, specificity is paramount. Hill urged the student to be definite down to the last dollar. This is not an exercise in fantasy, but in mental precision. This act forces clarity and eliminates the fog of ambiguity that smothers most aspiration. It provides a concrete, measurable target that the mind can lock onto. Step 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. This is perhaps the most overlooked, yet most critical step. Hill was a staunch believer in the universal law of exchange, famously stating, "There is no such thing as something for nothing." This step grounds the desire in reality and transforms it from a selfish want into a plan for value creation. It forces the individual to think in terms of service, ideas, merchandise, or labor. It shifts the focus from getting to giving. This is the ethical and practical foundation of the entire process. By defining your contribution, you are formulating your value proposition to the world. A person who desires $1 million without a clear plan of the value they will provide, in return, is engaging in mere wishing. A person who desires $1 million and plans to provide a revolutionary new software service in exchange is engaging in organized planning. Step 3. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. This is the step that instills urgency and creates a timeline for action. As previously detailed, the deadline acts as a forcing function. It creates a psychological finish line that pulls you forward. Hill noted that without a date, the subconscious mind has no incentive to act with expediency. It will treat the desire as a timeless, future tense event that never needs to be acted upon in the present moment. The deadline anchors the future desire firmly in the now by demanding immediate planning and action. Thus, step 4, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not, to put this plan into action. This is the call to immediate action, the mortal enemy of procrastination. Hill observed that most people wait for the perfect plan or the right time, both of which never arrive. He insisted that one must create a plan, even if it is flawed, and begin execution immediately. The act of starting generates momentum. The plan is not meant to be a rigid, unchangeable dogma. It is a starting point, a living document to be adjusted and improved as you receive feedback from your actions. This ready, fire, aim approach, as modern entrepreneurs might call it, is essential for breaking the inertia of inaction. Step 5, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. This is the act of physical commitment. A thought, however powerful, remains ethereal until it is given some form of physical expression. Writing the statement down is the first step in this transmutation. It serves as a physical contract with yourself. The act of writing engages different neural pathways than simply thinking, solidifying the intention in your mind. This written statement becomes a tangible creed, a constant reminder of your declared purpose, shielding you from the doubts and distractions of daily life. Step 6. Read your written statement aloud, twice daily, once just before retiring at night, and once after rising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. This final step is the most powerful, as it directly engages the principle of autosuggestion. This is the process of programming the subconscious mind by reading the statement aloud. You engage both sight and sound. By doing it at night and in the morning, you are accessing the mind when it is most receptive to suggestion, as the conscious, analytical mind is less active. Crucially, Hill stresses that the reading must be accompanied by emotion and faith. One must not merely repeat the words robotically. You must feel the excitement, the gratitude, and the reality of having already achieved the goal. This emotional charge is what gives the thought message its power and impresses it upon the subconscious. It is this daily ritual that builds unwavering faith, closes the door to failure, and aligns all of your mental and physical energies toward the attainment of your definite chief aim. Chapter 4. The Alchemist's Workshop. The Psychology of a Definite Purpose. Napoleon Hill's philosophy, while eminently practical, is rooted in a profound understanding of human psychology. He was, in essence, a master psychologist who intuited many principles that modern science would later begin to verify. The power of a definite chief aim is not a mystical charm. It is a psychological tool that systematically reorganizes the inner world of the individual to produce tangible results in the outer world. Partha, commanding the subconscious mind for Hill. The subconscious mind was the most powerful asset an individual possessed. He described it as the alchemist's workshop, the vast and fertile field where thought seeds are cultivated and grown into their physical reality. He did not see it as merely a repository of memories, but as a direct link to what he termed infinite intelligence, the universal storehouse of all knowledge and power. However, this powerful servant can only act upon the instructions it is given. In the absence of definite commands from the conscious mind, it operates on autopilot, guided by stray thoughts, fears, and the suggestions of one's environment. The definite chief aim, especially when applied through the 6-step formula, is a method for taking conscious control of this process. It acts as a clear, dominant, and repetitive command that overrides all other conflicting messages. When a purpose is held in the conscious mind with burning desire and persistence, it sinks down into the subconscious. Once the subconscious accepts this aim as a blueprint, Hill argued, it begins to work ceaselessly 24 hours a day to manifest it. It will inspire the conscious mind with hunches, ideas, and flashes of inspiration. It will guide the individual toward the right people and the right opportunities, often in ways that seem uncanny or coincidental. Part B. Autosuggestion as the programming language. If the subconscious is the computer, then autosuggestion is the programming language. Hill defined autosuggestion as any suggestion that one makes to oneself. It is the principle through which an individual can voluntarily reach and influence their own subconscious U.S. mind. The 6th step of the formula, the daily reading of the written statements, is a direct and deliberate application of this principle. Hill stressed that the subconscious mind makes no distinction between a thought impulse generated by reality and one generated by imagination. If you continuously tell your subconscious with deep feeling and conviction that you are successful and wealthy, it will accept this as fact and begin to produce the external conditions that match this inner belief. This is why the instruction to see and feel and believe yourself already in possession is so critical. This emotionalized visualization is what makes the suggestion stick. It bypasses the logical, skeptical conscious mind and speaks directly to the feeling-based subconscious. Negative autosuggestion works just as powerfully. An individual who constantly dwells on thoughts of poverty and failure is, in effect, instructing their subconscious to create more of those very conditions. The definite chief aim, therefore, is a tool for deliberately directing the power of autosuggestion toward a constructive and desired end. Part C. The cultivation of applied faith. Faith, in Hill's philosophy, is not a passive religious hope, but an active and dynamic state of mind. He termed it applied faith, an absolute, unwavering belief in one's ability to achieve their aim. Hill contended that faith is not something one is born with, but a state of mind that can be induced and cultivated through autosuggestion. A definite chief aim is the starting point for building this faith. It is difficult, if not impossible, to have faith in achieving a vague or undefined outcome. But when the objective is clear, specific, and backed by a definite plan, faith has a solid foundation upon which to grow. The daily ritual of affirming the aim serves as a faith-building exercise. Each repetition reinforces the belief, starving doubt and fear. As small successes begin to manifest along the path toward the larger aim, they provide tangible evidence that reinforces this budding faith, creating a positive feedback loop. This unwavering faith, Hill taught, is the ether that gives thought its power and vitality. It is the catalyst that transforms the ordinary thought impulse of desire into its spiritual equivalent, which can then connect with infinite intelligence. Part D. The magnetism of purpose and the law of attraction. Long before the concept became a modern buzzword, Napoleon Hill was teaching the core principles of what is now often called the law of attraction. He taught that thoughts are things, that they possess a vibrational energy, and that like attracts like. A mind dominated by a definite chief aim, charged with the emotions of faith and desire, emits a powerful and consistent vibration. This mental broadcasting, he argued, acts like a magnet. It attracts ideas, people, and circumstances that are in harmony with the dominant thought. A person focused on wealth will begin to see wealth-creating opportunities everywhere. A person focused on a creative project will attract the inspiration and collaborators needed to complete it. This is not to say that one simply sits and waits for things to appear. The magnetism works through the individual, heightening their perception, sharpening their intuition, and motivating them to take the right actions at the right time. The world doesn't magically rearrange itself. Rather, the individual's reorganized mind allows them to perceive and act upon the world in a new, more powerful way. Chapter 5. The Symphony of Success. The aim as the conductor, the definite chief. Aim is not an isolated principle that works in a vacuum. In his masterwork, The Law of Success, Hill outlined 17 distinct principles of achievement. The definite chief aim is listed first because it is the conductor of the entire orchestra. It gives direction, purpose, and harmony to all the other principles. Without it, the others are a cacophony of disorganized effort. The aim and the mastermind. Hill's mastermind principle posits that when two or more people coordinate their knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony for the attainment of a definite purpose, they tap into a spiritual power greater than the sum of their individual minds. The definite chief aim is the very nucleus around which a mastermind alliance must form. Without a shared, definite purpose, a group is merely a committee prone to disagreement and inaction. A powerful aim attracts the right partners and binds them together with a common vision. Andrew Carnegie, for instance, attributed his entire fortune not to his own knowledge of steel, but to his mastermind group of experts, all of whom were harmoniously focused on his definite chief aim of dominating the steel industry. The aim and persistence. Persistence, Hill taught, is to the character of man as carbon is to steel. It is the quality that separates the winners from the losers. But what fuels persistence? The answer is a definite chief aim backed by a burning desire. When the purpose is weak, the slightest obstacle is enough to cause one to quit. Hill famously told the story of R.U. Darby's uncle, who stopped digging for gold just 3 feet from gold because he was discouraged by temporary failure. A man with a burning desire and a definite aim would have persisted. Dean serves as a constant why, providing the emotional leverage to push through the inevitable setbacks, criticisms, and temporary defeats that lie on the path to any great achievement. The aim and organized planning, as stated in the 4th step of the formula, a definite plan is essential. The principle of organized planning involves the creation of detailed, practical plans for achieving one's purpose. The definite chief aim is the objective that the plan is designed to achieve. It is the destination on the map. The plan is the route you intend to take. The aim gives the plan its direction and provides the criteria for all strategic decisions. Every part of the plan can be evaluated with a simple question. Does this move me closer to my definite chief aim? The aim and imagination. Hill identified 2 forms of imagination, synthetic and creative. Synthetic imagination rearranges old concepts, ideas, and plans into new combinations. Creative imagination is the faculty that connects with infinite intelligence and receives new, original ideas and hunches. The definite chief aim is first conceived in the synthetic imagination, formulated from existing knowledge and desires. But as one holds this aim in their mind with faith and persistence, it stimulates the creative imagination to provide the novel plans and solutions needed to achieve it. The aim acts as a constant query posed to the universe, and the creative imagination is the faculty that receives the answer, the aim and accurate thought. This principle demands that one separates fact as from mere information or hearsay and uses those facts to build their plans. A definite chief aim provides the context for this process. It helps one to focus their fact-finding efforts on information that is relevant to their purpose, preventing them from being overwhelmed by irrelevant data. It helps one to identify the important facts from the unimportant ones, guiding them toward a logical and effective plan of action. In essence, every one of Hill's principles, from self-control to enthusiasm to personal initiative, is amplified and given coherent direction by the existence of a single, overarching definite chief aim. It is the engine that drives the vehicle of success. Chapter 6. Architects of Fate. Irrefutable historical proof, ultimate validation of Napoleon Hill's philosophy lies not in theory, but in the tangible achievements of the individuals he studied. Their lives serve as powerful, large-scale case studies on the efficacy of a definite chief aim. Henry Ford and the horseless carriage for the multitude. Henry Ford's definite chief aim was not simply to build an automobile. Many others were doing that. His purpose, held with fanatical devotion, was to build a motor car for the great multitude. He aimed to make it so low in price that any man with a good salary could own one. This single, definite purpose was the guiding light for every decision he made. When his engineers designed complex models, he rejected them. When his financial backers urged him to build cars for the rich, he broke with them. His aim demanded simplicity, reliability, and above all affordability. This definite aim directly led to his most famous innovation, the moving assembly line. It was not invented as a clever manufacturing trick, but as the only logical solution to achieve the mass production necessary to drive down the price to the level his aim demanded. His controversial decision to double his workers' wages to $5 a day was also a direct consequence of his aim. He needed the best, most reliable workers to run his high-speed production lines. And he needed his own workers to be able to afford the cars they were building, thereby creating his own market. Ford's relentless focus on his single aim allowed him to withstand ridicule, fight off the powerful Selden patent cartel in a landmark legal battle, and ultimately put the entire world on wheels. Thomas Edison and commercial invention. Thomas Edison is remembered as a prolific inventor, holding over 1,000 patents, but his true definite chief aim was not just to invent, but to create inventions that were commercially viable and would become part of the fabric of modern life. When he set out to create a practical electric light bulb, his aim was not just to make a filament that would glow. His aim was to create an entire system of electrical generation and distribution that could safely and affordably light up entire cities, competing directly with the gaslight industry. This definite and ambitious aim forced him to solve not one problem, but hundreds. He had to invent improved dynamos, wiring fuses, and meters. His famous search for the right filament involved testing thousands of materials. When asked about his failures, he famously retorted that he hadn't failed, but had just found 10,000 ways that won't work. This legendary persistence was fueled by the clarity of his definite purpose. He knew exactly what the end result needed to be, and he simply would not stop until he had achieved it. F.W. Woolworth and the 5 and 10 cent store. Before F.W. Woolworth, retail was a different world. Prices were not fixed and merchandise was kept behind counters. Woolworth, while working as a stock boy, conceived of a radical idea, a store where all items were displayed openly and sold for a fixed, low price of 5 or 10 cents. His definite chief aim was to create a nationwide chain of these 5 and dime stores. His first attempt was a failure. His second barely survived. He was told by his former boss and other experienced retailers that his idea was foolish and destined for bankruptcy. But Woolworth's aim was definite, and his belief was unshakable. He learned from his failures, adjusted his methods, but never abandoned his central concept. He persisted through years of struggle until his model was perfected. His definite chief aim to bring low-priced goods to the masses in a new and accessible way resulted in one of the largest and most iconic retail empires in history. These titans, and countless others studied by Hill, were not necessarily the most intelligent or educated men of their time. Their superpower was their singular, unwavering focus. They harnessed all of their mental and physical resources and directed them without deviation toward the attainment of a single, definite chief aim. Conclusion: the timeless commandment for achievement. The world has changed immeasurably since Napoleon Hill first embarked on his research. We live in an age of digital distraction, information overload, and endless choice. Yet, in this modern chaos, Hill's central teaching on the power of a definite chief aim is more relevant and necessary than ever. It is a powerful antidote to the aimlessness and lack of focus that plague so many in contemporary society. The principle is a universal law of mind, as true today as it was a century ago. It asserts that the human mind, when given a clear, compelling, and emotionally charged target, will marshal its own incredible forces and attract external resources to achieve its objective. It is the fundamental act of taking conscious command of one's life, of moving from being a passenger to being the pilot. The teachings of Napoleon Hill are a direct challenge to anyone who feels adrift. They are a call to engage in the deep introspection required to answer the most important question one can ask: what do I truly want? The six-step formula is not a magic incantation, but a disciplined methodology for clarifying that want, creating a plan to get it, and programming the mind for its certain attainment. It is a process of building an internal cause that will inevitably produce an external effect. The legacy of Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and the hundreds of other successful individuals Hill analyzed is a testament to this truth. They were the architects of their own fate precisely because they first drew a clear blueprint. They decided, with absolute finality, what they would build, and then dedicated every fiber of their being to its construction. The power of a definite chief aim is the first, last, and most important tool they used. It remains available to all who have the wisdom to grasp it and the courage to apply it. It is the timeless commandment for all who refuse to live a life of quiet mediocrity and instead choose to carve their own indelible mark on the world.